In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
Then put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill or mountain we can't climb. Babe, I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your booties, 'cause it's cold out there.
It's cold out there every day. When is this land?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Groundhog Day.
And if you people out there think that you're waking up to the same nightmare over and over again, you're not. The Patriots are back in the goddamn Super Bowl again. And this is the FLAFFL House Super Bowl preview show. And we're living through the nightmare with you.
9 times, Sal. 9 times.
9
you know
times.
Thank you, Steve, for getting that reference. I assume you know what that's from.
Oh, yeah.
Sal, do you know that reference?
Yeah, that is from. I'm totally freezing up on the name of the Office.
Nope. It is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes, 9 times.
Oh wait, I know that's I remember that part of Ferris Bueller. I'm more in the
times.
In any case,
stuck on the gummy bear part. You know,
yeah,
the gummy bears have been on my pocket all day.
You are a big gummy bear fan. We all know that. Look, I'm sure you guys have all seen the stat by now, but 9 times the Patriots have played in the Super Bowl, which is the equivalent of the number of playoff wins that the Atlanta Falcons have in their entire franchise.
That's daunting.
Yeah.
I'd be a little intimidated by that, but I am intimidated by most things, so I'm not a good barometer of that.
I will say Boston radio has been playing the whole I'm just happy to be here thing up quite a bit for the Falcons this week. So, it's been pretty funny for them to do that. Obviously, welcome to the show. This is the FLAFFL House Fantasy Football Podcast. As Sal mentioned, this is the Super Bowl Extravaganza, is I think what you called it last week, Sal.
Extravaganza.
And, we have a lot of things that we're going to go over today, we hope. We're not really sure, to be quite honest with you. We had a lot of things that were going to happen today, but some of them fell apart. Some of them are still in the works. So this could be an interesting show.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. There's no.
It's always fun.
Listen, if all else fails, we could badmouth the Patriots. That's always available.
Yeah, it's always a good time.
You and the majority of the country, Sal, would be good with that. I, on the other hand, I will not partake in that activity.
Shocking.
All right, so it is Super Bowl week. It is, Thursday, February 2nd. Obviously, it's Groundhog Day for us. When you're listening to this, it may not be Groundhog Day anymore, but so you definitely know that Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow this morning, which means more weeks of winter, more coldness, more darkness. Although, Sal, we were talking about this earlier. There's a New York groundhog.
Yes. Staten Island Chuck, and I do believe that this is a new
That
groundhog.
is the worst name ever.
Yeah, he's got a terrible
name ever.
It may coincide with the fact that living in Staten Island is probably the worst place ever. It's basically just a spot that you pass through to get from New York to New Jersey, and it smells like dumps. But I do believe that the mayor of New York dropped the groundhog last year, and it died. And that's not even something I'm making up. You could Google that. The mayor of New York dropped the groundhog.
Here's the thing: I've read that he disagreed with Phil this year. So did they just get another one? They replaced
No, they just got like his brother. It's like Staten Island Bob or something. They just shoved him in there. It's like, hey, listen, I know you never wanted to roll, and you've always been in his shadow, but
you'll never be
you're
what
on.
Chuck was.
You're on.
It's time to step up.
Listen, it turns out he couldn't even see his shadow right today. So,
right, yeah. In my mind, Chuck must have been weak. So.
Yeah,
I think Chuck was looking for a way out myself.
Chuck, are you suggesting that he somehow caused the mayor to do it?
It's like, the same thing year after year. He was just tired of it. He just wanted out.
Chuck was a Democrat,
like
from what I understand.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is the only podcast, I am fairly certain this is the only podcast where you can hear solid 5 minutes of Groundhog speak. So we got that going for us, which is nice.
There's like a huge football game on, but we're gonna spend our time talking about groundhogs instead.
Yeah. There's a game on this week, huh, Steve?
So I've heard.
Yeah.
It's been waiting a little while for this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Look, we'll get into some of the details and a lot of things today in the show. Not a lot of fantasy talk, obviously, because there's not a lot of fantasy going on right now, unless you're, gearing up for a dynasty draft or into some leagues that are very active right now, which I think all of us are, and that's sad. But not a lot of that for this particular game. So we're going to talk about the actual game. I think we're going to do some hashtag analysis. Is that right?
Okay.
I know it's not really your specialty, Sal. You're more of a song type, but
and dance. Don't sell them short.
Well, I've never seen.
I can't dance.
I've never seen the dancing.
Collins,
I can't imagine it's good.
My dancing?
Yeah.
Oh, I can cut a rug.
I'm sure you can. You're quite a handy guy, but I don't know about dancing.
You want cut a rug is an old
yes, I'm aware.
to being able to
we
dance.
Know.
But
keyword.
You want a little insight to Sal 33 history?
Sure.
So
the people want to know.
My wife is actually a dance teacher.
You invented the Watusi.
What do? You do the Watusi.
Did you just say he invented the Watusi?
So my wife is a dance teacher, and many years ago when I was wooing her, we were dating early on. She had a gig working for a couple of DJ companies, and she had a really big gig working for Viacom Christmas party. It was the Viacom Christmas party, and they needed an extra male dancer to work and lead the crowd. And I actually participated. I wore
pole
costumes.
Or stage.
And on a regular dance floor, it was a huge Christmas party, and I was absolutely 100% molested by some cretin passing herself off as a woman on the dance floor.
Oh boy!
Awesome.
So I have actually danced professionally because I've been paid for it. So
now I have a question, Sal. You said years ago when you were wooing your wife. Now, obviously, many years have passed. You just told us a little earlier that next Tuesday you were going to be, or is it next Tuesday 2 weeks from Tuesday, or a week from Tuesday?
Yeah, about a week and a half.
Flying off to New Orleans. Next Tuesday, or that Tuesday that you're speaking of, is Valentine's Day. So that is how far it has gone.
I am leaving on Valentine's Day.
You will be flying away on Valentine's Day to go do what now? What are you going to do?
I'm going to work at the Under Armour Steph Curry event that they're having for the NBA All-Star game, but I probably shouldn't talk too much about that.
Ooh, wow. Interesting.
Yes. Wow. There's a good chance I might be fighting Steph Curry.
Oh,
awesome.
That's good.
Which, by the way, he may look small on TV next to those other big people, but he's still bigger than me.
Yeah, and
from what I understand.
Listen, if you could somehow, just mention Steve and I to him, so that maybe we could get some notoriety after he kills you, that would be great.
I will wear a falafel shirt at least one day, and I'll try to get a soundbite of anybody even remotely related to the family saying falafel.
There you go.
I'll take Dell. Dell, if you're around. I see you hitting that bank shot off the glass.
There you go.
Yeah, Dell's around. He's around. It's good stuff.
All right, so what should we do here? Should we get into the game a little bit? You guys want to talk football? Or... Let's
talk Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, let's start off with the Atlanta Falcons. So they come into this game. I think a lot of people outside of myself, obviously, I've picked every playoff game correct so far, as I'd like to remind you guys.
Super cool.
But I think a lot of people didn't expect them to be here. I really think coming into the playoffs, they're that type of team that you don't expect when the pressure's on for them to really come through, and they've looked, I think, better than the Patriots even in this playoffs. I mean, I really do. I think they've played better overall. They've just dominated their opponents. So I don't know. Steve, give me your thoughts here. We talked about the experience. The Patriots have 9 Super Bowls versus 9 playoff wins for the Falcons. You think they have a chance? What's your thoughts here from a Falcons standpoint? If you're a Falcons fan, are you happy? Comfortable?
Am I happy about what? About the Falcons?
Yeah.
Being in the No, I picked the Packers to be there. So I mean, I'm not disappointed
No. I
or
said
anything.
if you're a Falcons fan, are you happy? You're comfortable? Do you think you got a chance?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're a Falcons fan, you've been waiting a long time to get back into the Super Bowl. And like you just said, the way that they have been playing, you can't not be impressed with that. And you have to absolutely think that you guys have a chance going forward. I personally were one of those people that thought that it was going to fall apart at some point like it had in every year prior with Matt Ryan. It just seems that the Falcons got off to a hot start and then it just started to dwindle as the season has gone on. And that just absolutely has not happened this season. They have looked great all throughout the end of the regular season, all throughout this playoff run, like you just said. Their defense is playing well. Their offense is hitting on all cylinders. And I think one of the bigger stats that's going around right now is that the Atlanta Falcons, they start fast and they start hot and they get off to a good start. They usually I think they've scored on their opening drive in their last 8 games. So they're usually able to play with a lead. And that's what this seems to be the big thing that everyone's talking about, is that are they going to be able to get off to that fast start? And if they don't, are they going to be able to come back if the Patriots are able to get up and force them to kind of get out of their comfort zone and get out of playing with a lead, which is what they've become so accustomed to. So if I was an Atlanta Falcons fan, I absolutely would be excited, but I would still be nervous because of the opponent on the other side. I don't think you can overlook the experience that we've talked about with the New England Patriots. That is a huge factor in this game in my mind.
Yeah, I can't disagree, Steve. My main focus with the Falcons here is that they don't they don't fall behind. They have to strike first. If they don't get the ball first, which if Belichick wins the coin toss, he will definitely defer. But if they don't get the ball first and don't score first, they need to match every score. They cannot afford to fall behind by more than 7 at any point in this game, in my opinion, because I think at that point, regardless of how well they've looked, and I agree with Kevin, they have looked fantastic in the first 2 rounds that they played in. If they fall behind, the pressure becomes different. It's a different game. It's a situation they've never been in. And it's a team that they're going up against that has succeeded pretty much every time being there, except for, 2 Super Bowls against the Giants. So I think it's very important that they maintain their composure and keep the game within 1 score at all times, or else I don't see a way that they could win.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there, Sal. I think that they actually forget keeping it within 1 score. I think they have to be in the lead. I think they have to come out and basically, if I'm them and that you win the toss or whatever, you have to take the ball and try and score, because I think they have to get ahead and then just full throttle try to stay ahead, because I think if the Pats get the lead, they're going to slow the game down as much as they possibly can. That's my opinion. That's what I think they're going to do. And I think that with the way the Falcons are built defensively, I think they'll be able to do that, to be quite honest with you. I think the Pats will be able to sustain long drives against this defense. Their defense has been incredibly opportunistic, and they've been flying around the ball. They're getting pressure on the quarterbacks, and I get that. And I think that they're playing extremely well for what they've for the talent that they have on that roster. But at the same time, I think that the Patriots can succeed with short passes, runs with LeGarrette Blount. You'll see the screens to Edelman. You'll see the screens to, the 2 running backs, Dion Lewis and James White. I think you're going to see a lot of that type of stuff with slow-moving drives, 10, 12, 14-play drives that eat up a lot of clock if the Patriots are in the lead. I think the game script completely changes if the Falcons are able to get ahead early. And the reason for that is then the Patriots are playing fast to keep up, and then the Falcons can just keep their foot on the gas on offense the way they typically do. I think they have to be in the lead, Sal. So I agree with you, and I would take it one step further, saying that even if they get behind, I think it's not over, but I think it's going to be a very huge task for them if they get behind in this game.
So taking Matt Ryan out of the equation, let's discuss who the most important offensive player would be for the Falcons in this game. So as Kevin has pointed out before, as a Patriots fan and being very in tune with what that organization does and how they defend people, he's pointed out that Belichick or the Patriots on a whole do an excellent job of taking away a team's lead wide receiver. They did it with Antonio Brown. So I expect that they're going to key on on Julio Jones. Now, Julio Jones could still have big days against good coverage because of his freakish size and abilities. But so let's take Matt Ryan. Let's take Julio Jones out. That leaves us with a couple other wide receivers. Gabriel has been good, and the 2 running backs. Who do you guys think, if they're going to win this game, if they have a shot of winning this game, who needs to play the biggest role for the Falcons on offense?
I would have to say that it's going to be one of the running backs. I think they're going to have to, if they get a lead, I think they are going to have to try and control the ball because the Patriots offense is so methodical and it's such a well-oiled machine that it's really hard to stop. So I think if Atlanta does get that lead, although they have typically throughout the season kept their foot down on the pedal, I think that they will switch to more of a ball control type of thing. And so I think that if they do get that lead, it's going to be an imperative for them to be successful in the run game. And luckily for them, they do have a couple options there with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. But I think that the run game will definitely play a huge part for them. I think that would be one of the most important people if you take out the other 2 you suggested, Sal.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. And I will say, to be more specific, I think I'm playing Coleman in just about anything fantasy related that I'm still involved with because for me, I think Freeman's great, and I think that he'll, I think what you're going to see from the Patriots from a defensive standpoint is they're going to give up. They're going to sell out to stop Julio Jones. They're going to give up within five yards of the line of scrimmage. I think is going to be something that they pretty much give away, right? So you're going to see Devonta Freeman getting chunks of, in runs of 5 yards or 6 yards, things like that. But I don't think I think that's where they're going to be okay with that, right? I think they're going to give those up so that they don't give up any big plays. So for me, if the Falcons are really going to beat the Patriots in this one, and you're taking away Julio Jones, which we expect, he's going to get his, but at the same time, we think he's going to be, they're going to key on him. I think Tevin Coleman's going to be the type of guy that could break some long plays and really, really help them keep that up-tempo offense that they've performed so well this season. That's the one thing that the Patriots are going to try and shut down. So I think if they win, I think Tevin Coleman is the guy. You'll see Freeman get chunks and he'll have a nice game, but I think Coleman breaking a few big plays is really where I'm expecting to see them, make a difference if they are going to make that difference. Sal, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear what both of you guys said because I feel exactly this way. I think that these 2 running backs together are going to need to be in tandem. And it's going to be them, and it's going to be a lot of dump-off passes. I know that this team has lived on the vertical, lived on some downfield plays and some big plays out of the wide receivers. And it's tough to see them change the game plan. Not that the running backs haven't been a huge part of this offense all year. And I agree with you, Steve, that I think that they'll have to control this game with the running game. And that includes dump-off passes to running backs in order to slow even the Patriots down a little bit. So we all know that I don't think that, Steve, you're using the over-under in your prop bet. Is that correct?
No, I'm not.
All right, so this is the highest over-under in the history of the Super Bowl. You could get it anywhere 57.5, 58, 58.5. I've seen it at all 3 of those. So with that said, do you think that this game stays under 58 points, Steve?
I actually would probably take the over in this game, just because I think that although these teams are going to want to try and control the clock whenever they do get a lead, I think that both of these offenses are dynamic enough and they take shots enough to where they are able to break that big play. And I think it becomes more of a shootout than more of a ball control type of thing, even though, like I said, that's what they will want to try to do. I still think that there's some fireworks in this one. So I would actually be taking the over in this game, although I'm sure most Super Bowls are hitting on the under.
It's for me, I'm actually going under as well, I should say opposed to you, Steve, but because of the fact that the Super Bowl, I think mostly hit on the under, but I also think that as we'll get into our predictions later, but I think you guys all know who I'm predicting here in this one, and I think in order to make that happen, I think the Patriots are going to do what I said and slow it down a little bit, and I think that's going to limit the scoring more than the odds in this one.
So I had a question. Sal brought up how the kickoff, and if the Patriots win, they will defer Kev, I wanted to ask you, Bill Belichick or the Patriots, they seem very methodical in everything that they do. Knowing how the Falcons have started off these last 8 games, like I said, they've gotten the lead, they've scored on their first drive in the last 8 straight. Do you think there is any chance that the Patriots receive the kickoff if they win that kick, trying to stop Atlanta from getting that first lead and maybe try and throw them off their game and just try and steal some points right off the bat and make them play from behind instantly?
I do, and I think it's a great point that you bring up, Steve, because I actually think, in thinking about this, like I said, I think that if the Falcons win the toss, they should absolutely take the ball. And I think the same is true for the Patriots in this one, and I actually think they might. Historically, the Patriots defer and take the ball in the second half because in their minds they love getting the ball at the end of the first half and being able to score, and then getting the ball again at the beginning of the second half, right? That's their move. They've done it so successfully for some reason. I don't know how they do it, how they manage the clock that well that it usually works out, but that's what they do. But in this particular game, and I think that they need to score first because I do think that really will set the tone, and I think that puts the game in a very difficult spot for the Falcons. So I think that they will take the ball first. And if you notice, Steve, they took the ball first against Pittsburgh last week as well, or 2 weeks ago as well. So they did change it up, even though they don't usually do that. I think against offenses where they expect a lot of production, that's something they consider doing just so that they get out there in front, particularly when you're talking about teams whose defenses aren't great at playing from behind.
So I think I'm sorry, Steve, did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to say it's something that I thought about when I was watching Green Bay and Atlanta play, that how Green Bay won that toss and deferred and instantly went down a touchdown, and it all kind of seemed to fall apart from there. So it's just something that I've been thinking about since then.
Yeah.
So I keep cutting my little friends off over here.
No,
Go ahead.
I was literally just going to say the word yeah. So you didn't even cut me off.
Excellent analysis, my friend. Everybody needs a good yeah to wrap it up.
Hashtag analysis.
Another stat I heard this week, which is interesting to me, is that I believe this is the 8th time in a Super Bowl, or maybe 8 previous times in a Super Bowl, the number 1 scoring offense in the league and the number 1 scoring defense in the league, meaning giving up the fewest points, have faced each other, and only one other time did the high scoring offense win. So that's obviously in the Patriots' favor as well. I think if you come into this game, all things really favor the Patriots. I don't think there's much you could find that favors the Falcons, which will probably make my selection that much more curious. But yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sal, I think you're right in that, but the one thing, I'm trying to be the impartial person here and bring up some Atlanta points of view, but I think that in this particular game, most of the people would point to that stat and say, yeah, but the Patriots aren't really the number 1 defense in the league, right? I mean, they're not. They are the number 1 scoring defense in the league. We all know that. They gave up the fewest points, so that's you can't question that. But I think everyone points to their competition, right, and their strengths of schedule, and said they didn't face it. How many good quarterbacks did they face all year?
3.
Did they?
It's just a guess.
I don't even think they did.
Right off the cuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at their schedule, it's just not there unless you consider, Carson Palmer, who obviously this year struggled. There's really, Russell Wilson, which in a game
Brock Osweiler
in a game that they lost, and that's about it until the playoffs when they faced, Ben Roethlisberger. They didn't even face Ben Roethlisberger in the game they played against the Steelers earlier in the season, right? That was the Landry Jones game, right? If I'm remembering correctly. So
yep,
I don't know. You're a Patriots fan. We were relying on you.
Hey, listen, I drink a lot during Patriots games, so look,
I changed the channel a lot.
Yeah, so really, you're talking maybe Carson Palmer, maybe some people think Andy Dalton's an okay quarterback, but and Russell Wilson they lost to. So really, just not a great selection of quarterbacks here that they faced, and they did a good job limiting them. And I'm always the first one to say when it comes to the NFL, if you win, it's hard to win games, and it's hard to stop teams from scoring, clearly. So you win, and they won 14 games. So I'll give them credit. Obviously we give credit for that, but I can't argue the point that they didn't face too much competition.
Would you say this will be the toughest offense they've faced all year, without a doubt?
Yeah, in my mind, without a doubt, sure.
But yeah, like you said, typically every Super Bowl comes down to defense wins championships. And so if they've got a defense that can slow that offense down, and in Atlanta's defense can't slow the Patriots offense down because it's not like they're, chopped liver over there on offense. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's for damn sure.
So, if you listen to a lot of the Atlanta, our radio stations here in Boston have had a lot of, they're all at Media Row and whatnot. So they've had some Atlanta Falcons beat writers and things like that jump on their shows. And a lot of them are saying that this game for the Falcons definitely comes down to their defense and whether or not they can step up. They've been opportunistic. They've made good plays throughout the playoffs and in the latter half of the season. And if it's that defense that shows up in this game, they think that they'll win. And I can't argue with that, because if Atlanta can put together a defense, then with that offense, I don't think it can lose. So
I think the next stat you'd have to look at is turnovers, right? And the Patriots have been very good at not turning the ball over all year. But Matt Ryan has no turnovers in these playoffs. It's only been 2 games, but he's playing pretty high. So I think that if he can keep the turnovers down, obviously, they'll stay with them. I think that this is going to be a close game. Like you said, we'll give our prediction later, but I think the Falcons are really going to stay in this one. I don't think it's going to be a problem personally, but you want to move on to the Patriots?
That's right, Sal. We are going to talk Patriots, and to do that, we're going to bring in a guest. We're going to bring in one of our old friends. We got Phil Perry here with us again tonight. He's from CSNNE. He covers the Patriots for them. He's actually live from Houston. Not live because it's a podcast. I guess that's not correct. But he is with us from Houston. What's going on, Phil?
I am alive and in Houston, so we're right there. We're right there. How are you guys?
We're doing very well. Are you a hotel, or are you still at Media Row? Are you still out in the scenes? What are you doing right now?
Just got back from to the hotel. It's been an interesting week because the Patriots' availability periods have been relatively late in the day, which I don't think they love. But it sounds like because the Falcons are the home team, they got to pick when availability was, and so of the Patriots' slots available to them, they chose to go at the end of the day after practice. So just got back, got a chance to talk to a bunch of guys over there, and that's our last media availability period of the week. So in terms of gathering quotes and getting video of these guys and the coaches, that's it for the week. So we'll have to wait until Sunday and actually play the game for us to get anything else totally new. But that's all right. We've been inundated with stuff the last few days. It's been good.
Cool. So, Phil, this is Sal. How many Super Bowls have you covered for the Patriots?
This will be my third. My first was when they went. It was their second time losing to the Giants. So this is my third. It's been crazy because that was really my first year covering the team. So this is now 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 6 years covering the team and 3 Super Bowls. It's pretty ridiculous, but that's about the rate these guys have been going at. It's almost every other year. It's insane.
How has Houston been as a host city? Overall, how have the activities gone?
You know what? I like Houston. It's I kind of came in with no expectations. There are a lot of Houston guys on the Patriots roster, and so some of those guys, recently were sort of talking up the place to me. Danny Amendola is a Houston guy. Landon Roberts, their rookie linebacker, a Houston guy. Brandon LaFell used to talk about Houston all the time when he was with the Patriots. So obviously football hotbed, and the Patriots have just so happened to have a bunch of guys, and they all love it. And I can see why, to be quite honest with you. And it may just be, the areas that we happen to be staying in, are really nice. But, the food's been great. The people have been great. It's a little bit spread out, which is understandable. Like I said, that 2011 Super Bowl was in Indy. And I don't know if you guys have been to Indy at all. But, it's a great city for something like the Super Bowl or the Combine because everything's so compact and so tight together. And so that, maybe aside from the weather and the cold, is sort of like the ideal place for an event like this. But Houston's been great.
No, it's not Jacksonville, right?
Not Jacksonville. And I think from what I understand, the Patriots were here for the Super Bowl back. It was the 2003 season, so February of '04, and I think it's come a long way since then. I remember, people coming. I wasn't there for that one, but I remember people coming back from that one, and guys that that I work with now that covered the team then. And it did not get very high marks that year, but I think it's come a long way since then.
For me, speaking for us watching from around the world, watching the activities that are going on there, and a lot of our listeners are spread out around the country, it's been a very quiet media week as far as I'm concerned. With them moving Media Day to Monday night, it seems like they toned that whole thing down a lot this year. What is there anything that sticks out to you, or a favorite activity or a favorite thing you've been a part of this week that maybe we're not getting a vibe of around the country?
So, you know what? I'm getting the same vibe. And, maybe it's just because compared to the Super Bowl from 2 years ago, where not only did you have this great matchup between the Patriots and the Seahawks, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, and there are a lot of personalities involved, obviously, on both sides. But you had Deflategate, and Deflategate was still in, its early stages at that point, obviously, and it hadn't quite reached the fever pitch that it eventually got to. But that was a huge storyline. And so, there wasn't as much, X's and O's breaking down the matchup talk as a lot of people, I think, wish there would have been. But this Deflategate thing was kind of hanging over all of our heads, and it colored our coverage. And I think it really, I know for fans back in New England, ups the stakes. And, Patriots fans, as you guys probably know, can be very defensive, and I appreciate their passion. It's the reason why I have a job and why there's so much interest in what we do. But, that whole thing really, turned the intensity of the week, the emotion of the week up to an 11. Compare that to this year, and it's really night and day. I mean, the Falcons, try as we might, you haven't been able to get any of those guys to say anything remotely controversial about the Patriots or about Tom Brady. Tom Brady's often a pretty easy punching bag for opposing defenses. The Giants used to love to crap on Brady and how he would see ghosts and how they'd be able to get to him. And, he wasn't as good as people made him out to be. And we all know how Richard Sherman feels about Brady, and Earl Thomas now too. So this week has been, I would say, very, very toned down compared to previous Super Bowls. And so that vibe that you're getting is not at all a false one. That's the way I'm seeing it here. And really, just to kind of give you an idea of what's getting buzz here is people are now just starting to wonder when Bill Belichick will retire. And it's not the sexiest storyline, and there's no even real factual information behind it just yet. We know that Kraft and Belichick have talked about the end for Belichick, but there's no set end date. And he obviously is never going to, talk about it. I asked him about it at press conference today and tried to get him to, I tried to kind of weasel my way into, something that might get a response from him, but he was having none of it. So that is, again, not the sexiest storyline, but that's what's getting a lot of buzz today. So that kind of is an indication of just what this week has been like.
Yeah, it definitely seems from the Patriots side of the ball that they are just happier all around. I mean, you think of the Patriots normally, and they're the epitome of focus when it's, heading into a Super Bowl like this. So do you think there's a different vibe in this Patriots locker room all around this season? And what do you think that's going to mean for them going into this game on Sunday?
I think in some ways, first of all, you're right. And I've noticed that too. It's been a loose group really all throughout the playoffs. And I think it's attributable to a couple things. A, they know they're really good, and there's nothing wrong with that. Covered Patriots teams in the past. I thought, the team in 2014, 2 years ago, knew it was really good. Had guys telling me well before the playoffs even started, hey, if we can get there and if we can stay healthy, we're going to win the whole thing. There's nobody that can stop us. And, they were right. And so I think, while I haven't heard that same exact type of comment from guys, I think the feeling is similar that, really they're the only ones that can stop themselves. They are relatively healthy. Obviously, they're missing Gronkowski, but they're so much healthier than they were last year. Brady's playing at the top of his game. They have, a defense that has been while rated as the number one scoring defense in the NFL, has been pretty widely criticized, especially locally, because they really haven't played anyone. And it's not their fault. They've played well against the quarterbacks they've played, but it's been one crap quarterback after the next. And they feel like they have something to prove. I think the team as a whole feels like it has something to accomplish for its quarterback. There's a very real sense of, we want to get this one for Tom. They obviously want to win every game, but the whole Deflategate as a backdrop with the season starting with his 4-game suspension is a motivating factor for this group, I believe. And so the combination of all of those things and a little bit of they're playing with house money because they, it's not really the legacy game that 2 years ago was, if that makes sense. Like, if the Patriots had lost that Super Bowl against the Seahawks, all of a sudden Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are 3-3 in Super Bowls, and they haven't won one since the 2004 season. And it's been more than a decade since they've won. And I think a lot of us are starting to question, how long this, quote unquote dynasty has really lasted. Did it end in 2004? And they've just been really good, and made the playoffs a whole bunch since then, but haven't been able to finish the thing off. Have they been were they the Buffalo Bills, getting to the Super Bowl and not being able to finish it off? So I thought there was more pressure on them for that game, against the Seahawks in terms of legacy and in terms of just how they're perceived, than there is this week. I think legacies are pretty well established. Brady, obviously, and Belichick, their legacies would improve with a win, no doubt. But if they were to lose, I don't think there are people saying, well, now you can't call Tom Brady the greatest quarterback ever. Now you can't call Bill Belichick the greatest coach ever. Those will always be debates, but I'm not sure a loss really takes a whole lot away from them. The fact that they keep getting back to this game is impressive in its own right. So I think there's a little bit less pressure in that regard as well. So I think all of that leads to a pretty loose group.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. So if you had Bill Belichick one-on-one and he was answering honestly to you, what do you think he would say scares him most about Atlanta this week?
Interesting. I would think, honestly, I don't think it would be Julio Jones, and that may sound crazy, but we all know that the Patriots, MO, defensively at least, is they're going to take away what you do best. And they're willing to sacrifice resources when it comes to that. They're willing to sacrifice bodies, personnel, numbers, just to make sure that you go away from the thing that has helped you win football games all throughout the course of the year. So I'm not sure it would be that. I think he and his coaching staff, as good as Julio Jones is, probably feels pretty good about their plan for him. I think it's the other options. It's can they beat us with their B, C, and D options that the Patriots would be most concerned about. And of those options, the one that I think Belichick, if I shot him with some truth serum before a one-on-one, I think he would say, we're going to have a really difficult time with their running backs in coverage. And it's something that has plagued the Patriots defense. Obviously, they won 14 games and they allowed the least amount of points in the league on a regular season. So it's not like there was any one super Achilles heel that was obvious to everyone throughout the course of the year, but they have a hard time running with running backs in coverage, and it's come down to linebackers often, and they got rid of one of the best linebackers in the league when it comes to covering running backs out of the backfield lately in Jamie Collins. And the other guys have struggled. It's been Landon Roberts, the guy I mentioned earlier, Houston kid, great against the run, not so great in coverage. Still needs work, still needs seasoning. Pretty good athlete, doesn't have a whole lot of size, but still needs work in that regard. Kyle Van Noy, really good at getting up the field in passing situations as a pass rusher, has had some issues when dropping into coverage. And again, staying with the running backs that the Falcons have, with the quickness, the vision, the speed when they get into the open field, all of those things I think could give the Patriots real problems. And I think that's what Bill Belichick would probably be most concerned with. I would say this, I just mentioned the linebackers and how they may have a difficult time with these guys, Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. I think what you could see is the Patriots use their linebacker and a safety's body, Patrick Chung, who is a strong safety but plays in the box a ton and plays almost right next to Dante Hightower or Roberts, right in the middle of the field off the line like a linebacker, I think they'll try to use him and his athleticism quite a bit to stay with those guys because they're so quick. I don't think Patriots linebackers are going to be able to really run with those guys.
So, Phil, you pretty much covered the defense completely there. That was excellent. I was going to ask you who you thought, outside of Tom Brady, who on offense is going to be the key player in this game for the Patriots?
Man, it's going to be fascinating to see how the Falcons try to play it, because if you do what you do and you do what you've done all season and you show pretty simplistic pre-snap reads, Brady's just going to carve you apart. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some things from the Falcons that we haven't seen a whole lot of, if any of, over the course of the year. Like I know against the Packers, the Falcons, obviously Dan Quinn, he has the Seahawks background. They play a lot of cover 3. They play a lot of zone cover 1, post safety coverage stuff. They played a little bit more man, I thought, against the Packers. And I wonder if they might try to mix and match both zone and man more often than they ever have to just try to keep Brady guessing. And so a lot of it's going to come down to what they feel like is working and how they feel like they can be successful. The key to me almost every week is Julian Edelman, especially since Gronkowski's been out. He has been a target machine. I mean, fantasy, if people are still, playing in playoff leagues or whatever, I mean, the guy, I don't know if there's more of a sure bet in terms of, especially if it's a PPR scoring type of deal, to put up points on a weekly basis in Julian Edelman, because Brady's looking for him. Every critical situation, third down, red zone, 2 minute, end of half, end of game, it's the Julian Edelman show. And he has been, I think, almost worn down to a nub this postseason because they've been using him so often, and we know what his size is, and we know what the kinds of hits that he takes generally over the middle of the field. But he's going to be the key to me. I think they will have some mismatches against that Falcons secondary, and I could see Julian Edelman going to town, running rub routes against some of these young players in the Falcons secondary and seeing if they are able to communicate to be able to defend those, whether it's with Hogan or Malcolm Mitchell or Danny Amendola. Rub routes over the middle, little jerk routes, little option routes, things that are going to be really hard for the Falcons to read. It's just, Brady and Edelman have such a good connection. Even if you know what he's doing, Brady's going to be willing to throw it to him if there is even a sliver of an opening. And so he's going to be the key. If the Falcons are able to limit him to 7 catches for 60 yards, they're going to have a real chance to win this thing. I just don't think they'll be able to do that. I think this is going to be a 14 target, 10 catch, 85 to 100-yard game for Julian Edelman, and the Patriots will come out winners.
So one question that I have, we've seen with that, obviously Edelman, I agree with you completely, but one of the things that we've seen is the rotation of the running backs change on a week-to-week basis with this team. I'm curious because every time you think it's going to be a LeGarrette Blount game, or you think it's a Dion Lewis game, or even a James White game, although no one's really pinpointed him as a specific threat pretty much all season, one of them, the other one seems to be the guy that takes over. So of the three, we speculated earlier on this podcast that it might be a LeGarrette Blount game to try and, run down the clock a little bit on such a fast-paced Atlanta offense. Is that how you see it, or is it just too hard to predict at this point?
It's so hard to predict, but I like that call by you because the Patriots' running game has really been a staple of theirs throughout the course of the season. Now, that hasn't necessarily meant LeGarrette Blount throughout the course of the season, especially lately. His yards per carry and just his overall effectiveness has really taken a hit. But this Falcons defense is not very good against the run. And so if the Patriots offensive line can get a little bit of push, that's always the key with LeGarrette Blount. He's never going to be a guy to create in the backfield. And if you happen to let a defensive lineman leak through and, past the line of scrimmage, he's going to be able to dodge him and get upfield for 3 or 4 yards. It's just not a game. He doesn't have that kind of quickness. And so against a team like the Texans and even the Steelers in the AFC Championship game, both of those defenses got pretty good penetration, and it just made it very difficult for Blunt to ever get going. What you saw in those situations was that they started to use Dion Lewis, who obviously completely different stature, but the perfect guy to dodge a tackler, 1 yard into the backfield and turn a 1 or a 2 yard loss into a 3 or 4 yard gain. And so to make sure that they are continuing to get positive yardage, especially in first and second down, to keep yourself out of those third and long situations, Dion Lewis has been the guy. But if you can get pushed and you can get Blunt into the second and third level, the guy is a handful, and there's not a corner or a safety in the league that wants to tackle him. So I think they will try to establish Blunt to some extent early, and they'll gauge it. They'll say, what kind of push is Shaq Mason, Joe Tooney, and David Andrews getting up front on this Falcons defensive line? What are Nate Solder and Marcus Cannon? How are they able to move guys? And if they can get Blunt some space, this could be a huge game for LeGarrette Blunt. You think back to a couple of years ago, that AFC Championship game against the Colts. He ran wild because, again, once he gets past the line of scrimmage and past that first level, he's a monster. So I think they'll set out with the intent to get him going because, like you said, you want to be able to keep this Falcons offense off the field. And it also just opens up so much for the rest of the offense. The play-action passing game becomes huge if LeGarrette Blunt is a factor. If they can't get push, it's going to be a big Dion Lewis game as a running back and, potentially James White as a receiver. The Falcons, while bad against the run, also pretty bad against running backs in coverage. So it's a really good matchup for all three Patriots running backs if you're looking at it. But I think this has the potential to be a LeGarrette Blunt game, especially, it's one of those things, though. You got to watch it early. And if he's making hay early, they're going to keep going to him. If not, they'll move away quickly. They have no problem, even if it's part of the game plan, they have no problem moving away from it quickly and moving on to something else. In this case, it would be Dion Lewis.
Awesome. I know we're starting to get over. I got a couple go over our time here. A couple quick questions for you. So last time we saw the Patriots in the Super Bowl, you talked about it, the 2014 season against the Seahawks. Obviously, we saw the big play at the end of the game, the Malcolm Butler play. Is there a play like that in this one? And if you had to bet, who's going to be the hero?
Wow. It's so hard to predict a play like that. You really put me on the spot here, guys.
Yeah.
Damn. All right, so here's the thing. I've already mentioned him twice. I'm going to mention him again because I love to watch him play against the run, and he is a thumper. And if you haven't had a chance to see Landon Roberts on first and second down, get up the field, make a read, and just attack a hole and finish. Yep. It's really, really impressive, especially given his size. I mean, I've seen him. He has no issue whatsoever taking on 300-pound guards, 320-pound tackles, and just moving them into the backfield and taking out, 2 or 3 guys with one hit and ending a play. So I'm going to say the Houston kid, the rookie, if you want to compare it to that Malcolm Butler situation a little bit, guy who's not spoken about a whole ton. He was essentially benched mid-season. It looked like he was going to be the guy once they traded Collins, and then he had started having issues in coverage, and they weren't comfortable running him out there. But he started playing a little bit more and more lately the last couple of weeks. I'm going to say the Houston kid went to the University of Houston, Landon Roberts, 6th-round pick. At some point, shoots a gap, makes a hit that changes the game, whether it's Tevin Coleman or Devontae Freeman, pops a ball loose, Patriots fall on it, key turnover, Patriots win the turnover battle and win the game, and we'll all be coming back to that saying, man, that Landon Roberts kid is really going to be a player, and it could potentially launch him into the kind of progression that we've seen from Butler. I don't think there were a lot of people, even after he made that play in that Super Bowl, that said, well, this kid has a chance to be a starter and then a Pro Bowl player and maybe an All-Pro down the line. But the Patriots knew that he had that in him because of what he had done all throughout the course of his rookie season in practice and in the workouts and intercepting Tom Brady and being a general pain in the ass. And I think Landon Roberts, it would be a really similar type of story. So if you're looking for that, that kind of out of nowhere play, I would say keep an eye on that guy.
All right, can't argue with that. So last question before, and then you got to give us your score and your prediction. But is it true that this season listening to the Falafel House podcast is why you won your fantasy championship? Is that true?
That is 100% factually correct. Dominated the my PPR league with my buddies from home. We have been at this league since freshman year of high school for me, so that would have been 2000, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, that would have been the fall of 2000. Have never won it. Have always caught a lot of stuff from my buddies because I'm the only one who actually works in football, and I still struggle year after year, and they actually question the fact that I do have a job and that I do cover the Patriots for a living. So it was a sweet victory for me this year, redemption. I absolutely rode David Johnson's coattails all the way to the finals, like a lot of people did, I'm sure. But some surprise performances at the end of the year from Tyrod Taylor and Antonio Gates, and I came away with the hardware. Yeah. So I appreciate it, fellas. I should be sending you a portion of my winnings.
We would be okay with that. We don't have any sponsors, so if you could. All right, so
that's diaper money. That's diaper money.
That's right. So finally, what's your prediction?
So I'm going to go. I do think as good as the Patriots defense has been, and I thought that AFC Championship performance was a validating one. They finally saw a good offense, even though Bell was hurt, and they played very well. I do think the Falcons will score. It's a historically good offense. I think you have to give them a lot of credit, and they just have, like I said, they have talent, especially that running back level is what I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. And they're going to put up points, but it's not going to be enough. I don't think the Falcons defense is really going to be able to stop the Patriots offense. Their only hope, in my opinion, is that Vic Beasley makes this a hell of a game for Tom Brady, makes him totally uncomfortable. But the Patriots will be ready for that. Marcus Cannon's had an all-pro caliber season, was named a second-team all-pro this year. He'll be facing Beasley at that right tackle spot. So I got the Patriots winning 34-24. It'll feel like a relaxing Super Bowl for Patriots fans because every year they're here, it comes down to the last play or the last drive. That's not going to be the case this year. Patriots by 10, 34-24, and Patriots fans will be saying, "That's it. That's it. Where's the game-winning drive? Where's the last play at the goal line to win the game?" But they'll be happy nonetheless.
Excellent. He is Phil Perry from CSNNE. You can catch him on csnne.com. You can catch him on Twitter at Phil A. Perry. And thanks a lot, Phil, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always fun. And thank you again for the fantasy advice because I have bragging rights for a full year now. So my friends can suck it.
Enjoy it.
Thank you,
Display
Phil.
the trophy proud. Thanks a lot,
Yes.
Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
All right, guys. Take care.
care.
Enjoy the game.
You too. All right, guys. Once again, that was Phil Perry from csnne.com in from Houston. Thanks a lot, Phil. We appreciate it. We are going to do some betting here, Steve, which is your domain. So why don't you got some prop bets for Sal and I, huh?
Absolutely. I want to get you guys' feel on a couple of these prop bets. The Super Bowl is one of the most fun times of year to get into betting, March Madness being another one, which is another really fun one. But all the craziness that goes along with the Super Bowl prop bets. So I have found a couple and want to get your guys' feeling on them. And the first one is going to be...
By the way, just did you notice that Phil's score, 34-24, is right at the line for the over-under?
Yeah, actually the very first score that popped into my mind for my prediction that we'll be giving out here in a little bit was right on the line as well.
Yeah.
So
anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you, but I thought that was interesting.
No problem at all. I'm used to it by now after almost a year of doing this, so it's okay, Kev.
Who cut you off? I never cut you off.
All right. The first prop bet is going to be during the live telecast, will the phrase "Houston, we have a problem" be said by either Joe Buck or Troy Aikman?
Oh, I will say absolutely by Joe Buck. It's not an Aikman thing to do, but that is, I will 100%, I would take that bet.
I completely agree with you. To me, that's a no-brainer. Joe Buck might say that 3 times. To me, there should be an over-under on how many times he says it, right?
You guys might want to get in on that because yes is at plus 250.
Wow.
So I mean, you're making 250 for every dollar you put down. You might want to go find a site and make a deposit there. And they got no at minus 400.
Here's my question for you, right? So obviously, players impact the game quite a bit, and there's no gambling in the NFL. You're not supposed to bet if you're a player, and yada yada yada. But can Joe Buck just go put like $1 million on the no and then just not say it? Like,
Well, I would put $1 million on the yes and start the show off that way.
Or yeah, I guess that's the idea. That's the better way to go, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the better
Absolutely.
odds.
I don't know. I mean, there might be some ethics issues going on there, but
screw ethics though. Is it illegal? I mean,
well,
you're talking
that's
about
the most
betting.
Patriots thing to say ever, huh?
What? Damn you!
Leave it to the Patriots
Wow.
fans to say screw ethics.
Man, Kevin, you should have just left it at yes, Joe Buck, and moved on.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the next one then.
All right, the next one for you, Tom Brady fans. How many times will they show Gisele Bündchen? They've got the over/under set at 1.5.
Oh God, Kev, I'll let you answer first.
Yeah, I think there's probably. I'm gonna say. I mean, I'm gonna go with the over, but I'm gonna cap it at 3.
Oh,
Well,
man,
all right, wait. Let me amend that. I'm gonna say 3. Nope, I'll say 5 if they win, 3 if they lose.
I was gonna say 5. That was gonna be my number, and especially if there's a last-minute drive to try and win or tie the game
With the dropped pass.
I mean, I don't know if you guys. Yeah, right. And she'll make a comment
throw it
about
to
it
himself.
afterwards.
That's right.
I remember many years ago. So you guys know that I'm a New Jersey Devils fan when it comes to hockey, and Martin Brodor's wife one year was like on the screen more than he was. Every save the guy made, every big play in the game, he went to his wife constantly. So his wife was not as good looking as Gisele Bündchen. So I'm going to definitely say over.
All right, this one's got to be one of the easiest ones that I could think of. How many times will Gronk or Gronkowski be said on TV during the live broadcast? The over/under is at 3.
Oh, that's
God,
an over.
It's at 3.
These are easy for me. I'm taking the
ridiculous.
over, and I think it goes double digits.
Double digits. Oh, that's tough. I don't know about double digits. I could see 7 or 8.
Sal's giving a teaser at 9.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll do that.
That's a good one.
All right. All right, this next one. Will the word lacrosse be said during the live broadcast? Only brought up because Chris Hogan used to play lacrosse when he was in college.
So with these live broadcasts, is it once the game kicks off?
It is from the start of the broadcast to the end, not including commercials or the halftime show.
Kev, you want to answer that one first?
Yeah, that's tough. So just to be clear, it's only with regard to Chris Hogan that lacrosse is brought up?
The word just has to be said.
So
that was the connection.
I'm going to say yes, only because, for those of you who don't know, Belichick has a long history of lacrosse players and being involved in lacrosse programs and things like that. So there's a number of ways that this could actually come up. So I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say yes, and I guarantee you will see a picture of Chris Hogan in his lacrosse uniform at Penn State. 100% guarantee it.
All right, this next one. What color will Lady Gaga's hair be at the start of the halftime show? We've got the favorite at blonde at -400, or you could do any other color at +250.
Oh, so wait, you get +250 for the field?
That's right.
Oh, I'm going to take the field on that one.
Wow, she's blonde today. At her press conference today, she was blonde, but obviously she could easily dye that moments before the kickoff.
She might dye it on stage.
Yeah, maybe she'll die on stage. I don't know.
Well,
But
I mean,
she had an interesting press conference today. Did you guys see any of that?
I did not.
So she evidently her family are big Steeler fans, and Terry Bradshaw actually was one of the people who got up to ask her a question from the crowd. And
Oh, wow.
the whole thing stopped when he had to now make his way through the crowd and go hug her mother.
Awesome.
So I'm
That's
taking
great.
blonde. What is it for blonde?
Blonde is -400. Heavy favorite.
See, that's a sucker bet, though. I mean, what's the point?
I'm a sucker. I am a sucker.
All right, Sal, you want another layup here? This
Yeah.
has got to be the easiest one. I can't even believe this is where it's at. How many times will deflate or deflate gate be said on TV during the live broadcast? This is available at Bovada. The over/under is at 1.5.
Oh God!
I know.
I might be able to pay for my second kid to go to college after the Super Bowl. What is this, Bovada?
At Bovada, yeah.
I'm gonna have to make an account tonight.
So
I
here's a
don't get
question for you, though. There could be a directive for them to not mention it at this point.
you'd almost think that there would have to be for this number to be so low,
Yeah.
because it seems so obvious that it would be mentioned twice.
I think it's going to be said exactly 2.5 times.
2.5.
Yes.
So what? Give me the half. Give me the comment on the half. Just to flip.
You know, Joe Buck's going to be in the middle of saying it, and Troy Aikman's going to smack him in the back of the head and say, enough already with those hair plugs.
All right, and then for the last one, I got how many times will Donald Trump tweet during the game? Over under at 1.5.
Ooh. You know,
I'm going to go under myself.
Yeah, I'm going to go under as well. And you know why? I think he's going to be there. And I think he might be there. I think he might surprise.
He's going to make a
surprise Super
appearance?
Bowl. Yeah, I think he might be there.
Does he give the trophy to Tom? If
you never know. He's good friends with the Kraft family, so he could be in their box. There's a question for you. If Donald Trump somehow ends up at the Super Bowl, who's shown more, Sal? Is it Trump or Giselle?
I'm hoping Giselle, because I've already seen enough Trump in the last week and a half to last me the next 4 years. I would just say, Donald, I know you're busy, and I do know you're a fan of the FLAFFL House. Don't show up. Please don't show up. Because it's probably the only 4 to 5 hour period any of us are going to get without seeing Donald Trump. So hopefully he doesn't tweet. Hopefully he doesn't show up. Hopefully we have a Trump-free Super Bowl.
All right, Steve, that it? You got more?
That's it for me.
All right, so look, we just want to remind everyone we got a couple of housekeeping items before we finish up. We will get to our predictions, but one thing we just want to bring up with this Super Bowl this week, we're going to take next week off, guys. I'm giving you the week off.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I didn't even put in for it. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's just a free vacation day. You'll still get paid the same amount. So
that's good.
That'll be nice.
I couldn't go without a week's pay.
Shopping.
So no podcast. There will be no podcast next week. I apologize for all of our fans. We will be back the following week, and from there on we'll keep you updated as to our schedule. It's the off season, so Steve has requested some extra time off. His babysitter is big timing him on a regular basis now. So
if you guys want to know what happened in the Super Bowl, I recommend you watch it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good plan, Sal. I also want to remind everyone to follow the show on Twitter at Falafel House. You can follow me at Wally Central. You can follow Steve at Zidskeet. You can follow Sal at Lido Sal. Check us out there, because we need something to do next week. We're not gonna have a podcast, so we'll be on Twitter and we'll be tweeting. That's it, Steve. Why don't you start off with your prediction and your finishing thought, or your prediction for your finishing thought, for that matter?
Yes, the prediction will be my finishing thought. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out during the entire fantasy football season. This is our first entire season together doing this podcast, so it's been a long ride. It's hard to believe we are at this final game. But for my prediction, I will be taking the New England Patriots to win yet another Super Bowl. My final score is going to be 34-27. I think they're going to win by a touchdown. Not quite as much as Phil thought, but I think it's going to be. I think they're going to have the game kind of wrapped up. I don't think it's going to be an exciting finish as much as I would like to see one. I think I see New England kind of controlling this game and winning by a touchdown. So 34-27. That is the Patriots covering with the over. So that is my prediction for the final game of this season.
So sandwiched in between the two guys will be picking the Patriots will be me. And
don't give away my pick.
Oh yes, I know. And for a second I thought Phil might not pick them too. So listen, I said it earlier in this podcast. All signs point to the Patriots being favored in every aspect. But I'm rooting for the Falcons, so I'm going to take the Falcons. We all. You seem, so far, Steve, Phil, myself, have the score about the same. I have it Falcons 31, Patriots 27, which falls right at 58 points. And I think that what happens here is that it's a 4-point game, and the Patriots are driving to win the game they can't kick the field goal to win it this time, and they end with Tommy throwing an incomplete pass. And Atlanta Falcons, Super Bowl champions, Devonta Freeman, MVP.
Ooh.
Wow, Devonta Freeman, huh? Interesting. You don't see a lot of running backs make it, but yeah, I can see, all right. For me, I think you all know who I'm picking. I'm taking the Patriots. I do think that they're the better team in this, although I do love the way Atlanta is playing. I think they should be, really happy with their season and what they've done. And Dan Quinn in his second year is pretty impressive. He's made this defense better than I think it should be given the players, and I think that the offense is phenomenal and very difficult to stop. But I think in this game, the Patriots will look to slow the game down a little bit. Will look to eliminate Julio Jones and sort of give up a little bit of the run to stop the short intermediate passes as well. I think the Falcons aren't going to score as much as they have been scoring in this particular one, and I see the Patriots winning 30-24. So that's my prediction. I've been right all playoffs, so hopefully I'll get this one right as well. And we will be back to talk to you in a couple of weeks. And until the Patriots are Super Bowl champions again, Steve, hit the button.